The first week was hell. Margot moved into the Ashford estate full-time, her official title now medical care coordinator. Her real role something closer to guardian angel. She was there at 3 a.m. when Natalie woke up vomiting from withdrawal. She was there at noon when Natalie's hands shook so badly she couldn't hold a fork. She was there at 6 p.m. when Natalie burst into tears over absolutely nothing and then couldn't stop crying for an hour. And Graham was there too. For the first time in 18 months, he was actually fully present. "Daddy, I feel like bugs are crawling under my skin," Natalie whimpered on day 3, scratching at her arms until Margot gently caught her hands. "I know, sweetheart," Graham said, pulling his daughter onto his lap. "Dr. Kim said you might feel that. It's your body getting used to having less medicine. It's going to pass." "When?" "Soon, I promise." But it didn't feel soon. Every day brought new symptoms as Dr. Kim carefully reduced dosages: headaches, dizziness, nausea, muscle aches, and worst of all, the emotional roller coaster as Natalie's feelings, suppressed for so long, came roaring back with hurricane force. On day 5, Natalie screamed at her father for the first time in over a year. "I hate you! You let them hurt me! You didn't listen when I said something was wrong!" Graham stood there taking it, his face crumbling, but his voice steady. "You're right. I didn't listen, and I hate myself for that more than you could ever hate me." Natalie collapsed into sobs, and Graham held her while she cried. Later that night, after Natalie finally fell asleep, Graham found Margot in the kitchen, making tea with shaking hands. "How do you do this?" he asked quietly. "How do you stay so calm when she's suffering?" "I'm not calm," Margot admitted. "I'm terrified. Every time she has a new symptom, I'm terrified it's something we missed, something dangerous." "But Graham, this is what healing looks like. It's messy and painful and hard, but it's real. She's feeling things again. She's processing. That anger she showed you today, that's healthy. She should be angry. She was hurt, and she's allowed to express that." "I just wish I could take the pain for her," Graham said, sinking into a chair. "I'd go through withdrawal 1,000 times if it meant she didn't have to." Margot sat beside him, and without thinking, reached out to cover his hand with hers. "You're going through something just as hard. You're facing what happened, taking responsibility, showing up even when it's painful. That takes courage." Graham looked at their joined hands, then up at her face. "I couldn't do this without you. Literally couldn't. You're the reason Natalie has a chance. You're the reason I have a chance," Margot said softly. 2 weeks ago, I was a housekeeper who thought her medical career was over forever. You gave me back my purpose." They sat in the quiet kitchen, hands intertwined, something shifting between them that neither was ready to name yet. By week 2, Natalie's physical symptoms started to ease, but the emotional ones intensified. She had nightmares about her mother's death, vivid, horrifying dreams that had her screaming herself awake. She had panic attacks in the middle of the day for no apparent reason, and she had questions. So many questions. "Margot, do you think Mommy knew she was dying?" Natalie asked one afternoon while they sat in Catherine's studio. Margot had started bringing Natalie here daily, art therapy combined with memory work. "I think she knew she was very sick," Margot said carefully. "Why do you ask?" "Because the last thing she said to me was, 'I love you more than all the stars.' That's what she always said, but that day she said it 3 times, like she was trying to make sure I remembered." "She wanted you to remember," Margot assured her. "And you do. You'll always remember." "Will I ever stop being sad she's gone?" "No, but the sadness will change. Right now it's big and overwhelming because you haven't been allowed to feel it. As you process it, talk about it, cry about it, create art about it, it'll become something you can carry instead of something that crushes you." Natalie nodded slowly, then picked up a paintbrush. "I want to paint her. Will you help me?" They painted together that afternoon. Natalie working on a portrait of her mother, while Margot mixed colors and offered gentle guidance. It was the most peaceful Margot had seen the girl since they'd started the medication taper. Graham found them there hours later, both of them covered in paint. Natalie's canvas showing a woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. "That's beautiful, baby," he said, his voice thick. "It's not finished yet," Natalie said, But Margot says I don't have to finish it today. I can work on it whenever I want. She says healing isn't a race. Graham's eyes met Margot's over his daughter's head, and the gratitude in them was almost overwhelming. That night, after Natalie was asleep, Graham asked Margot to join him for dinner, not in the formal dining room, but in the smaller family kitchen where real life happened. I need to tell you something, he said as they sat down to pasta that Margot had taught him how to make. I filed a formal complaint against Dr. Whitley with the medical board today. My lawyers are also preparing a malpractice lawsuit. Good, Margot said firmly. It's going to get ugly. He's already threatening to fight back, claiming I'm a vengeful parent who's making false accusations. His legal team is apparently very aggressive. Let them come. You have documentation. You have Dr. Kim's expert testimony. You have Natalie's medical records showing 18 months of systematic overmedication. I have more than that. Graham pulled out his phone and showed her an email. Since word started spreading about my complaint, 4 other families have contacted me. Their children went through the same thing with Dr. Whitley. Same pattern, overmedication, worsening symptoms, financial ties to pharmaceutical companies. Margot felt a chill run down her spine. 4 more children? 4 that we know of so far. My lawyers think there could be dozens once we go public. We're talking about a potential class action lawsuit that could bring down not just Dr. Whitley, but potentially expose the entire kickback system between doctors and pharmaceutical companies. Graham, that's huge. That could change how pediatric psychiatry is practiced across the country. I know, and I'm terrified. He set down his fork, his hands shaking slightly. What if I fail? What if his lawyers are better than mine? What if I put Natalie through testifying and it traumatizes her all over again? Margot reached across the table and took his hand, a gesture that was becoming natural between them. Then we deal with it. But Graham, you're not doing this just for Natalie anymore. You're doing it for every child who might end up in Dr. Whitley's office in the future. You're using your wealth and your power and your platform to protect kids who don't have those advantages. That's not failure, that's heroism. Graham looked at her with such intensity that Margot felt her breath catch. You keep doing that. Doing what? Making me believe I'm better than I am. I'm not making you believe anything that isn't true, Margot said softly. You're a good man, Graham. A good father. You made mistakes because you trusted the wrong people. But you're fixing it. Not everyone would. I don't feel like a good father. I feel like the father who let his daughter suffer for 18 months because he was too busy building towers to notice she was falling apart. Then be the father who saves her now, Margot said. Be the father who shows up, who fights for her, who changes the system so other kids don't suffer the same way. That's what matters. Graham stood abruptly and moved around the table. Before Margot could process what was happening, he pulled her to her feet and into his arms. Thank you, he whispered against her hair. For everything, for seeing what I couldn't see, for staying when you could have walked away, for believing in both of us. Margot melted into the embrace, allowing herself a moment of weakness. He was warm and solid and smelled like cedar and safety. She let herself imagine, just for a second, what it would be like if this was real, if she belonged here, in this mansion, in this family, in this man's arms. Then reality crashed back. She pulled away gently. Graham, we can't do this. Can't do what? Whatever this is becoming between us. I work for you. I'm Natalie's medical coordinator. Getting involved romantically would be completely inappropriate and potentially harmful to her recovery. You're right. Graham stepped back, running a hand through his hair. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry, Being around you makes me feel things I haven't felt in years. Hope, connection, the sense that maybe I'm not completely alone in this. You're not alone, Margot said quietly, but we need to keep boundaries. For Natalie's sake. Graham nodded, but the look in his eyes suggested this conversation was far from over. Week 4 brought a breakthrough and a breakdown in equal measure. The breakthrough came during a therapy session with Dr. Patricia Hayes, the trauma specialist Dr. Kim had recommended. Margot sat in the waiting room while Natalie and Graham were inside. After an hour, the door opened and Natalie came running out, not in distress, but with something like excitement on her face. Margot, I remembered something. What did you remember, sweetheart? The morning Mommy had the seizure, we were making pancakes together. I've been so focused on finding her on the floor that I forgot about the pancakes. We were laughing because I got flour everywhere, and she told me I was her favorite messmaker in the whole world. Tears streamed down Natalie's face, but she was smiling. I forgot about the happy part. I only remembered the scary part. But Dr. Hayes helped me remember that Mommy and I were happy that morning, that the last thing we did together was laugh. Margot pulled Natalie into a hug, her own eyes burning. That's beautiful, Natalie. That's a memory worth holding on to. Graham emerged from the office looking emotionally wrung out, but lighter somehow. Dr. Hayes says Natalie's making remarkable progress. She's processing grief in a healthy way now that the medications aren't suppressing her emotions. The breakdown came 2 days later. Margot was helping Natalie with homework when her phone rang. An unknown number, but something made her answer. Is this Margot Henley? A woman's voice, professional and cold. Yes, who's calling? This is Jennifer Torres, attorney for Dr. Richard Whitley. I'm calling to inform you that you are named as a co-defendant in a defamation lawsuit Dr. Whitley is filing against Graham Ashford. You are accused of practicing medicine without a license, interfering with an established doctor-patient relationship, and making false and damaging statements about my client's medical practice. Margot felt the room spin. I didn't practice medicine. I reviewed medical records and suggested getting a second opinion. You diagnosed medication toxicity without a license. You convinced Mr. Ashford to remove his daughter from my client's care. And you have been acting as a medical provider without proper credentials. We have statements from multiple Ashford household staff members describing your role. I'm a licensed nurse with a history of medical negligence that resulted in your license being suspended. My client intends to prove that you are a disgraced medical professional who manipulated a grieving billionaire for financial gain and put a vulnerable child at risk by interfering with legitimate psychiatric treatment. The call ended. Margot sat frozen, the phone still pressed to her ear, while Natalie looked at her with concern. Margot, are you okay? You look really pale. I'm fine, sweetheart. I just need to talk to your dad for a minute. Can you keep working on your math? Margot found Graham in his study on a conference call about the Ashford Tower project. She must have looked as devastated as she felt because he immediately ended the call. What happened? She told him about the call, her voice shaking. Graham, I'm so sorry. I'm being sued because I tried to help Natalie. This is exactly what happened before. I tried to do the right thing, and it destroys my life. No, Graham's voice was steel. This is not what happened before. Before, you were blamed for someone else's mistake. Now you're being attacked by a corrupt doctor who's desperate to protect himself. There's a difference. His lawyer said staff members gave statements about me acting as a medical provider without credentials. What if she's right? What if I overstepped legally and I've given him ammunition to discredit everything? Then we fight it. Graham pulled out his phone. I'm calling my legal team right now. And Margot, listen to me. You saved my daughter's life. I will spend every penny I have protecting you from this lawsuit. Every single penny. I can't let you do that. You don't have a choice, Graham interrupted, his voice fierce. You think I'm going to let that monster destroy you the way he tried to destroy Natalie? Not happening. We're in this together now. Within 2 hours, Graham's legal team was assembled in his study. 5 attorneys, all top in their fields, all looking at Margot with professional assessment. Ms. Henley, said Margaret Chen, Graham's lead attorney, I need you to walk me through every interaction you had with Natalie, every statement you made about her medications, every action you took. Leave nothing out. For 3 hours, Margot recounted everything. The locked door, the conversation through the door, confronting Graham, reviewing the medical files, calling Dr. Kim, being present during Natalie's withdrawal. When she finished, Margaret Chen smiled. You didn't practice medicine without a license. You exercised appropriate nursing judgment in recognizing a medical emergency and advocating for proper care. Everything you did falls within the scope of nursing practice, and you hold a valid nursing license, reinstated 2 years ago. Dr. Whitley's lawsuit is frivolous, and we're going to eviscerate it. But his lawyer said his lawyer lied to intimidate you. It's a common tactic. Make the target panic and back down before discovery reveals how weak their case actually is. Margaret's expression turned predatory. But we're not backing down. In fact, we're going to countersue for malicious prosecution, abusive process, and about 6 other torts I haven't decided on yet. Graham squeezed Margot's shoulder. See? We've got this. But Margot couldn't shake the fear. She'd been through legal hell before. She knew how these things could spiral, how truth could get twisted, how even winning could feel like losing when your name was dragged through the mud. That night, she sat alone in her room in the staff wing, a space that felt increasingly wrong now that she was supposedly a medical coordinator, but still housed with the housekeeping staff. A knock on her door made her look up. Graham stood in the hallway, looking uncertain. "Can I come in?" "You shouldn't be here. The staff will talk." "Let them talk. I need to make sure you're okay." Margot stepped aside, letting him in. The moment the door closed, her carefully maintained composure cracked. "I'm not okay," she whispered. "I'm terrified. 2 years ago, a lawsuit destroyed my life. What if it happens again? What if Dr. Whitley's lawyers are better at lying than we are at telling the truth?" "Then we make sure the truth is undeniable," Graham said, pulling her into his arms despite her earlier words about boundaries. "We document everything. We get expert witnesses. We show the medical board and the courts exactly what he did to Natalie and those other children. But what if Natalie has to testify?" Margot's voice broke. "What if we put her through that trauma? We'll protect her. We'll do everything we can to keep her out of the courtroom. And Margot, listen to me. Even if the worst happens, even if this gets ugly, you're not alone this time. Last time you fought alone. This time you have me. You have my resources, my legal team, my support, all of it." Margot looked up at him, this impossible man who'd somehow become essential to her in just a few weeks. "Why are you doing this? You could settle quietly, pay Dr. Whitley to go away, protect your reputation and Natalie's privacy. Because settling would let him keep practicing, keep hurting kids, and because—" Graham cupped her face in his hands, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "Because you matter to me, Margot. Not just as Natalie's advocate or as an employee. You matter to me as a person, as a woman who's been through hell and kept her integrity intact, as someone who saw injustice and fought it even when it cost her everything." "Graham," she breathed, knowing she should step away but unable to make herself move. "I know we said boundaries," he continued, his voice rough. "I know this is complicated, but Margot, I haven't felt this way about anyone since Catherine died, and I'm tired of pretending I don't feel it." "We can't," Margot whispered, even as her hands came up to rest on his chest, feeling his heartbeat thundering beneath her palms. "It's too messy. The lawsuit, Natalie's recovery, everything. Life is messy," Graham interrupted. "Love is messy, and I'm done trying to keep everything perfect and controlled when the most real, most honest thing in my life right now is what I feel for you." He kissed her then, and Margot let herself fall. The kiss was desperate and tender, full of fear and hope and need. Graham's hands slid into her hair while Margot gripped his shoulders like he was the only solid thing in a spinning world. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Graham rested his forehead against hers. "Stay," he whispered. "Not in the staff wing, not as an employee. Move into the main house. Be part of this family for real." "What about Natalie? What will she think?" "I think she'll be thrilled. She asked me yesterday when you were going to officially be her mom." Margot felt tears streaming down her face. "She said that?" "She did. Because Margot, you've already been mothering her for a month. You've been there for every nightmare, every withdrawal symptom, every breakthrough. She loves you, I love you, and I'm asking you to let yourself be loved back." "I love you too," Margot admitted, the words feeling like both a relief and a terror. "But I'm scared, Graham. I'm scared this won't last. I'm scared I'll let you both down." "Then be scared with us," Graham said simply. "Be scared and stay anyway. That's what courage is." 3 months later, Margot stood in a courthouse hallway, wearing a professional suit Graham had bought her, waiting to testify in the medical board hearing that would determine Dr. Whitley's fate. The past 3 months had been a whirlwind. Natalie was off all medications now, thriving in therapy, laughing again, creating art again. being a kid again. She'd started at a new school where nobody knew about her past, where she could just be Natalie, smart, creative, occasionally moody, completely normal. Margot had moved into the main house, into a suite near Natalie's room. She and Graham had navigated their relationship carefully, keeping things private around Natalie until they were sure it was stable. But last week, Graham had sat his daughter down and asked if she'd be okay with him and Margot being together. Natalie had rolled her eyes. "Dad, I've been waiting for you to figure that out for forever." "Duh, I'm okay with it. Can Margot officially be my bonus mom now?" "Bonus mom?" Margot had laughed through tears. "Yeah, because you can't replace my first mom. Nobody could. But you can be a bonus mom, an extra parent who loves me." It was perfect. She was perfect. And now Margot had to testify to protect her. Inside the hearing room, Dr. Whitley sat with his legal team, looking confident and unmoved. The medical board sat at a long table, 5 doctors who would determine if he kept his license. Graham's attorney, Margaret Chen, called Margot to the stand. "Ms. Henley, please describe what you observed when you first encountered Natalie Ashford." Margot took a breath and told the truth. All of it. The locked door, the desperate crying, the 12 medications, the symptoms that screamed toxicity, the pattern in the medical files, the financial ties between Dr. Whitley and pharmaceutical companies. Dr. Whitley's attorney, Jennifer Torres, cross-examined aggressively. "Ms. Henley, isn't it true that you were suspended from nursing for medical negligence?" "I was falsely accused of negligence. I was later cleared of all charges, and my license was reinstated." "But there was a period where you couldn't work as a nurse." "Yes." "And isn't it true that you saw an opportunity with the wealthy Ashford family? A chance to insert yourself into their lives by convincing Mr. Ashford that his daughter's doctor was harming her?" "No," Margot said firmly. "I saw a child suffering and adults ignoring her. I did what any medical professional with a conscience would do. I advocated for proper care." "You diagnosed medication toxicity without examining the child, without reviewing complete medical history, based solely on hearing her cry through a door. That's not advocacy. That's reckless assumption." "I recognize the signs of overmedication based on 8 years of experience and a medical degree, and I was right. Dr. Kim's independent evaluation confirmed everything I suspected." The hearing continued for 2 days. Dr. Kim testified about Natalie's condition when she first saw her, about the dangerous drug combinations, about the financial conflicts of interest. 4 other families testified about their children's experiences with Dr. Whitley. Medical experts explained how pharmaceutical kickbacks influence prescribing practices, but the most powerful testimony came from Natalie herself. Graham hadn't wanted her to testify. Neither had Margot. But Natalie had insisted. "I want to tell them what he did to me," she'd said with fierce determination. "I want to make sure he can't do it to anyone else." So on day 3, Natalie Ashford, 9 years old, sat in the witness chair and faced the medical board. "Dr. Whitley, I tried to tell you the pills made me feel bad," she said, her voice clear and strong. "I told you I felt fuzzy and weird and tired. I told you I could taste colors and it scared me. And you know what you said?" She looked directly at Dr. Whitley, who couldn't meet her eyes. "You said I was getting sicker. You said I needed more medicine. You said if I didn't take all my pills, I might hurt myself or someone else. You made me afraid of my own brain." Natalie's voice cracked, but she kept going. "I was locked in a room for 18 months because of you. I couldn't go to school. I couldn't play with friends. I couldn't even paint because my hands shook too much. And the whole time, you were getting paid by the companies that made the pills that hurt me." Tears streamed down her face now. "My mom died, and I was sad. That's normal. But you made me into someone who couldn't feel anything at all. You took away my sadness and my happiness and my anger and everything that made me a person. And I want you to know that what you did was wrong. Really, really wrong." Graham, sitting in the gallery, was openly crying. So was Margot. So were half the people in the courtroom. The medical board deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, their spokesperson read the verdict. After reviewing all testimony and evidence, this board finds that Dr. Richard Whitley engaged in unethical prescribing practices, failed to properly monitor his patient's condition, failed to disclose financial conflicts of interest, and caused significant harm to multiple pediatric patients. His medical license is hereby revoked permanently. We are also referring this case to the district attorney for potential criminal charges. Dr. Whitley's face went white. His attorneys immediately filed objections, but it was over. Outside the courthouse, Graham held a press conference. Today, justice was served for my daughter and for the other children harmed by Dr. Whitley's actions. But this isn't just about one doctor. This is about a system that allows financial incentives to override patient care. I'm announcing the creation of the Natalie Ashford Foundation for Pediatric Medical Advocacy with a $100 million endowment. This foundation will provide free legal support to families fighting medical negligence, fund independent research on pediatric medication safety, and push for legislation requiring disclosure of all financial relationships between doctors and pharmaceutical companies. Reporters shouted questions. Graham answered a few, then turned to where Margot and Natalie stood off to the side. But more importantly, he said, his voice softening, I want to introduce you to the two people who made all of this possible. My daughter, Natalie, who found the courage to speak her truth, and Margot Henley, the woman who believed her when no one else would. He held out his hands. Natalie took one, Margot took the other, and they faced the cameras together, a family forged in crisis, strengthened by truth, held together by love. Margot stood in Catherine's art studio, Natalie's art studio now, watching the girl work on a large canvas. The painting showed three figures, a woman with blonde hair painted in soft, ethereal strokes, watching over a man and another woman and a young girl, all of them holding hands. It's my family, Natalie explained, noticing Margot watching. Mom's in the sky, watching over us. Dad's here, you're here, and I'm here. We're all connected. It's beautiful, Margot said, her voice thick with emotion. I'm giving it to you and Dad as a wedding present, Natalie announced. Margot's heart stuttered. Wedding present? Natalie grinned mischievously. You think I don't know Dad bought a ring? He keeps looking at it when he thinks nobody's watching. He's going to propose soon. I can tell. You're too smart for your own good, Margot laughed. So are you going to say yes? If he asked me? Yes. Absolutely yes. Natalie set down her paintbrush and came over to hug Margot. Good, because I really like having a bonus mom, especially one who actually listens to me. That evening, Graham took Margot to the rooftop terrace of the Ashford Tower, the building that had taken up so much of his time 2 years ago. The city sparkled below them, light stretching to the horizon. I built this tower, Graham said, looking out over the view. 60 stories of steel and glass. My crowning achievement in real estate. And you know what I realized? What? It's just a building. In 100 years, it'll either be torn down or be some historical curiosity. But Natalie, she's my real legacy. And the fact that she's alive and healthy and happy, that's because of you. He turned to face Margot, pulling a small box from his pocket. Margot Henley, 6 months ago, you were a housekeeper I barely noticed. Now you're the center of my entire world. You saved my daughter. You saved me. You taught us both what it means to be truly heard, truly seen, truly loved. I don't deserve you, but I'm asking anyway. Will you marry me? He opened the box, revealing a ring that caught the city lights and threw them back in brilliant sparks. Yes, Margot whispered. 1,000 times yes. Graham slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into a kiss that tasted like promises and second chances and futures built on truth. When they finally pulled apart, Margot laughed. You know Natalie already knows, right? She told me today that she's giving us a painting as a wedding present. Graham chuckled. That kid is too smart. I was trying to surprise her. She's been through enough surprises for one lifetime. I think she likes knowing what's coming. They stood together on the rooftop, looking out at the city where so many lives intersected, where so much pain and healing happened simultaneously. Do you ever regret it? Graham asked quietly. Knocking on that door? Everything that came after, the lawsuit, the stress, the chaos? Never, Margot said firmly, because I found my purpose again. I found my family. And I learned something important. What's that? That my voice matters, that speaking up is worth it, even when it's terrifying, even when it costs everything, because silence costs more. The Natalie Ashford Foundation for Pediatric Medical Advocacy had helped 43 families in its first year. 7 doctors had lost their licenses due to investigations funded by the foundation. New legislation in 12 states now required disclosure of pharmaceutical relationships. Children across the country were receiving better, safer care. Natalie, now 10, spoke at schools about medical advocacy and children's rights. She was thriving, making art, making friends, making peace with her mother's death while cherishing her memory. Graham had stepped back from daily operations of Ashford Properties to focus on the foundation and his family. He'd learned that building relationships mattered more than building towers, and Margot, Dr. Margot Henley Ashford now, ran the foundation's medical advocacy division while also completing a degree in patient rights law. She'd found a way to combine her medical knowledge with legal advocacy, ensuring that what happened to Natalie would happen to fewer and fewer children. On a Sunday morning, the 3 of them sat in Natalie's studio, now filled with canvases showing everything from abstract emotions to detailed portraits of people Natalie loved. Catherine's spirit filled the space not with sadness, but with creative energy that Natalie had inherited and honored. "I have an announcement," Natalie said, looking between her father and Margot with barely contained excitement. "What is it, sweetheart?" Graham asked. "Dr. Hayes says I've finished trauma therapy. I've processed Mom's death. I'm healthy now. Really healthy. Not just physically, but up here." She tapped her head. "And in here." She tapped her heart. Margot felt tears welling up. "That's wonderful, Natalie. And I want to help other kids who are going through what I went through. Kids who are sad and scared and being given too much medicine. Kids who aren't being heard." "How do you want to help?" Graham asked. "I want to make videos for the foundation's website where I tell my story and teach kids how to advocate for themselves, how to know when something doesn't feel right with their medication, how to speak up even when adults aren't listening." Graham and Margot exchanged looks. This brave, brilliant, beautiful girl who'd been so close to being lost forever was now determined to save others. "I think that's a perfect idea," Margot said. "I think your mother would be incredibly proud of you," Graham added, his voice thick. Natalie smiled, a full, genuine smile that lit up her whole face. "I think she would be proud of all of us, because we didn't give up. Even when it was really, really hard, we kept fighting to make things right." She picked up a paintbrush and turned to a fresh canvas. "Now I'm going to paint us telling our story, because that's what we do in this family. We tell the truth, even when the truth is hard, and we listen when someone says something's wrong." Margot wrapped her arms around Graham's waist as they watched Natalie paint. The girl who'd once been locked in a room, silenced by medications, labeled as broken. The girl who'd found her voice and used it to change the world. "Thank you," Graham whispered to Margot. "For what?" "For knocking on that door, for listening, for seeing what everyone else missed, for saving us." "You saved me right back," Margot replied. "We saved each other." And that right there was the truest thing of all, because sometimes salvation isn't about one person rescuing another. Sometimes it's about people choosing each other, believing in each other, fighting for each other when the whole world says to give up. A billionaire who learns that love matters more than empires. And a little girl who finds her voice and uses it to make sure no other child suffers in silence. Closing message. If this story touched your heart, you need to hear me out. Right now, there are children being over-medicated. There are families trusting doctors who have financial conflicts of interest. There are people suffering in silence because they've been told their own experiences don't matter. Your voice can change that. If you or someone you know has been harmed by over-medication, speak up. Get second opinions. Research your doctor's financial relationships, their public record. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. And if you've ever felt unheard, if you've ever been dismissed by people who were supposed to help you, if you've ever had to fight for the truth when everyone said you were wrong, you're not alone. Hit that like button right now if this story inspired you. Drop a comment sharing your own story of speaking up when it was hard. I want to hear from you. Subscribe to VickyTale if you haven't already, because every week we share stories that remind us why courage matters, why truth matters, why fighting for what's right is always worth it. And share this video. Share it with parents. Share it with anyone who works in healthcare. Share it with people who've been told they're imagining their pain. Share it with anyone who needs to know that one person's courage can change everything. Before we go, I want to leave you with the 3 most important lessons from Margot, Graham, and Natalie's story. First, your voice matters. Whether you're 8 years old or 80, whether you're a billionaire or broke, whether you have credentials or not, when you know something is wrong, speak up. The world needs people who refuse to stay silent. Second, listen to the people who are actually experiencing the problem. Natalie knew something was wrong with her medications. She told everyone, but the adults were listening to other adults instead of listening to her. The person living the experience is the expert on their own body, their own pain, their own truth. Believe them. Third, it's never too late to make things right. Graham spent 18 months trusting the wrong people and making choices that hurt his daughter. He could have stayed in denial. He could have defended his decisions. Instead, he admitted he was wrong, took action to fix it, and then used his resources to make sure other families wouldn't suffer the same way. That's redemption. That's growth. That's what real strength looks like.